All right, let's talk about this movie a little bit. I want to talk about the plot. There are a lot of plot things that we can't really talk about until we get into spoilers. So I'm just going to kind of go over the basics of what everybody probably knows or should know, which is essentially right after Far From Home, the previous Spider-Man movie. Peter Parker is being outed by J. Jonah Jameson as Spider-Man. So his identity has been revealed, and then this movie pretty much picks up right at the end of that movie. It's maybe a couple weeks later. Everything is a mess, and his life is kind of a wreck, and everybody's there's tabloids after him. There's legal problems. There's all kinds of stuff that he's got to deal with, and so one of the biggest pieces of fallout from this is that Peter and Mary Jane. Well, not Mary Jane, I guess. It's MJ. What's her? It is Mary. It's Michelle Jones. It's Michelle Jones Watson.
Michelle Jones Watson.
I'm going to say Mary Jane just because I'm so used to MJ being Mary Jane. But Michelle Jones Watson, Zendaya's character, so they're applying to MIT, and instead of getting into MIT, unfortunately, Ned and MJ don't get in. Well, Peter doesn't get in either, but none of them get into MIT just because of their association with Spider-Man in this case, which I think is a pretty BS. I mean, it's sort of a cancel culture-y thing a little bit, which I think is kind of interesting that they kind of included that in there, but it's also guilt by association, which really doesn't make any sense, but it's also not really clear to me why. I don't know, Peter didn't really, I don't know, whatever. We'll see. But in any case, they didn't get in. They were sort of rejected from their top college. And so Peter goes to Doctor Strange to see if he can find a way to fix this problem using magic. There's a lot of sort of hijinks that go into that, which I do want to talk about in a second. But more or less, Doctor Strange casts a spell that ends up, the design of the spell is meant to make people forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man and forget the connection to Spider-Man. It seems like a very scorched earth kind of a spell to use in this scenario, which I think Doctor Strange is fairly stupid for even suggesting, which we can talk about in a minute. That's actually the worst part of the film for me, and the part of the film that I'm most annoyed by. But it is the most essential to get the rest of the plot moving. So what are you going to do? Then this spell breaks because Peter is neurotic and keeps interrupting Doctor Strange in mid casting, which all this you've seen in the trailer. And then the multiverse opens up and a whole bunch of villains from other Spider-Man universes, in particular the Amazing Spider-Man universe and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man universe from Sony, come in, which is very meta. But also, if you saw, which I was actually kind of surprised he wasn't used more in this, but if you saw Venom, Let There Be Carnage, the end credit sequence for Venom has Eddie Brock being pulled into this universe as well. So that's kind of an interesting thing. So various Spider-Man villains have, which by the way, doesn't make any sense. I don't know why Venom, we'll have to talk about that in a second, because there's a lot of stuff that really super doesn't make sense about who came over and why and how they stopped them, whatever. But in any case, now our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, played by Tom Holland, has to fight all of these incredible villains from previous Spider-Man movies. And instead of just fighting them, he tries to save them. He tries to fix the things that went wrong with them. So if you recall in Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi Spider-Man, the reason that Dr. Octavius kind of went nuts is because his little inhibitor chip thing that regulates his arms broke, and then the arms started controlling him. It's weird AI sort of thing in his brain, and so Peter's trying to fix that instead of just sending them back where they came from. So that's basically the gist of it. I don't know. It's a lot of fun in general, and it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of nostalgia, and there's a lot of, but even without the nostalgia, it's tightly paced. It's a quick movie. It's it's actually kind of a long movie, but it moves.
Yeah, it's 2.5 hours.
It moves well, and it progresses really, really effectively, I think. And apart from Doctor Strange doing something that's just criminally stupid at the beginning of this movie, pretty much all the characters behave in ways that I think are pretty understandable and believable. And I don't know, I enjoyed it a great deal. So Paul, Jen, what are your sort of initial thoughts?
Go ahead, Jen.
You want to go ahead, Paul?
You can.
All right. I really liked this movie. It was a ton of fun. And for all of the shenanigans that were going on in that film, and some of it was really quite silly and slapstick, but for all of that, it had so much emotion in this film. I felt things in that theater, and it was just so much fun to see it all unfold. And you got to see Tom Holland's Peter Parker grow up a little bit in a way that we hadn't seen before in these films, and to really internalize that the things that he's doing have very, very real and very, very serious consequences that he's been largely shielded from until this point. And to just see him really take that into himself and make that a part of his reality, and to accept it and to be like, you know what, with great power does come great responsibility. They said the thing, and to, accept it and not be like, this is BS and I hate everything. No, he's still a superhero. He's still doing superhero things, and it's going to be tough, and you can see him accept that. And it's just a really beautiful moment.
Yeah. So, I think I might be the only person on the internet that I thought this movie's fine. I think it's basically, do you like Spider-Man memes? Then you'll love this movie. That's basically what it is. Doctor Strange is dumb. Doctor Strange is dumb.
He's super dumb.
He is dumb.
And it's that I want to talk about that in depth, because it angered me conceptually going into the movie. And I was hoping that the movie would find a way to make it okay that he was dumb, that there was some good explanation for why he was willing to break reality in this context for this reason. And they didn't really do that. They paid a little bit of lip service to it. There's a moment where Dr. Strange, oh yeah, but we've done this spell for less or whatever. He kind of did that kind of thing. But it's getting people to forget about a party that they were at, and getting the entire multiverse to forget who Peter Parker is, they're maybe a little different. They're maybe not the same scale.
Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, it was fine. I think I don't know. I think it's very forgettable for me. I think it was cool to see some of the people pop up, but there was no groundbreaking new things. It was basically just relying on what Sony has done before.
Yeah, that's true.